Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review The Trip to Greece. I absolutely love this series. I fell in love with this series the second I watched The Trip for the first time, and just watching Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon interact with each other for however the hell long any of these movies are is just an absolute delight. Whether it's them gently ribbing each other, very politely, but in a very British way of being very biting, or them doing their impressions or singing, and just the clash of the pretty pretentious kind of attitude that Steve Coogan can have and this exaggerated form of himself, and how funny and just goofish that Rob Brydon can be. And their chemistry is off the chart. My God, the charisma they each bring and then their interactions with each other just makes these films so great. And you just sit there and love every moment of them interacting with each other. Thinking about the story-wise, after a while it's like, yeah, you know what you're getting out of these films. There's going to be some heavy emotional moments, and, this one is probably, at this point, despite the fact, I laughed a lot with this film. And after a while, you know what's going to happen in these kinds of films, the trip films. And it's not the most original story anymore. But up until the last 15 minutes, this film is exactly what you expect it to be. And it rides on that. And I was okay with that. Me personally, I absolutely loved it. But from a film perspective, it's just like, you just keep going with what you keep going with. And this one, up until the last 15 minutes, had probably the least amount of that more emotional, personal kind of look. Because some of the other ones deals with a lot of relationship issues. Those interludes where it's like they're interacting with their particular spouses or kids. And there's a couple of interesting little tidbits throughout this one. I feel like this one doesn't have as many of those cutaways as some of the other films did. Could be wrong, I need to rewatch them, but I think this one just kind of leaned more into the fun of it. And then it gets really emotional and really impactful. And you can tell the relationship between these two characters after all these years. And I feel like The Trip to Greece is the perfect place because they talk a lot about Greek tragedy and comedy, and specifically Odysseus and his Odyssey that took him 10 years to come home, according to them, and they've been doing this for 10 years. But it does get really emotional, and there's some strong emotions towards the end of the film that I feel like they could have spent a little more time building up to, but after all these films, I felt connected to those emotional moments. And in general, it's this isn't the best of the trips, but I love them all. So those are my thoughts. But let me know what you think. And if you haven't gotten a chance to dive into this series yet, please do. It's definitely worth your time. If you love those kinds of films where it's just about people interacting with each other, and you don't need much more than that. This doesn't have action, it doesn't have intriguing plots or mysteries or thrills. It is about two people connecting and their conversations. If you're a Linklater fan, and I showed my friend Matt, who is a frequent collaborator on here, and someday we'll be getting back to Welcome to the Wasteland show, but focusing on those interactions of the Before trilogy, this is that kind of film. Just a lot funnier, and more about brotherhood than an actual relationship. But if you like those kinds of films, go check these out. And this was tagged as the last course, so it's time to do some catch up. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think about The Trip to Greece or the Trip films in general, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.